Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, October 20th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It's the news many parents have been waiting for. The White House is preparing to deliver millions of COVID-19 vaccinations for younger children. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says the news comes as federal regulators are set to review the vaccine's effectiveness and safety.
The FDA is looking at approving COVID-19 Pfizer vaccines for kids ages 5 to 11 next week, with the CDC taking up the issue the following week. White House officials say they have enough doses for the estimated 28 million kids.
We know millions of parents have been waiting for a COVID-19 vaccine for kids in this age group. And should the FDA and CDC authorize the vaccine, we will be ready to get shots in arms.
The U.S. Surgeon General says there will be a national campaign targeting younger children and their parents.
We know one of the barriers and challenges we will face to getting vaccines to children is a similar barrier we face with adults, which is that there's a profound amount of misinformation that is circulating.
If approved, the vaccines could be in San Diego by early next month.
I think this may be the last missing piece.
Dr. Mark Sawyer is an infectious disease specialist at Rady Children's Hospital.
If we want kids to be able to freely go to school and participate in their other activities, getting them vaccinated is going to make that a lot easier.
Sawyer sits on the FDA advisory panel, which will be reviewing safety data from the vaccine next week.
We're worried about side effects, just like we are in adults, but since children generally don't get as sick with COVID, we need to be doubly sure that the vaccines are safe.
He says the Pfizer vaccine designed for kids is the same as the one for adults, just in a smaller dose. White House officials say they are working to set up community vaccination sites, including clinics at schools, to make the process as easy as possible.
It's going to be available in pediatricians' offices, family physician offices. It's going to be available in some pharmacies who immunize younger kids. So access to vaccine is not going to be a problem.
Nationwide, there have been more than 600 coronavirus deaths among minors. Health officials estimate around half of kids that get infected don't have any symptoms. All the reason why Sawyer says it's key to have them vaccinated.
If we can cut down transmission in schools and keep kids from bringing it home to their parents and other family members who are at even higher risk from the infection, then I think we're going to be in pretty good shape.
Even though the vaccine's approval process is still a couple weeks away, White House officials say they are acting now to be ready to move quickly. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The FDA is green-lighting COVID-19 boosters for those who got the Moderna or Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Also, anyone who is eligible for an extra dose can switch brands for their next shot. However, the CDC will get the last word on that matter. They'll consult an expert panel later this week before finalizing the booster recommendations. Governor Gavin Newsom has extended California's drought emergency to cover the entire state. KPBS reporter Melissa May has more on San Diego's current water supply.
California experienced the second driest year on record, but the County Water Authority says San Diego is still in good shape.
We have done a lot in water use efficiency to the point that we've knocked our per person water use down by half, 50% over 30 years, which is tremendous. At the same time, we developed new water supplies. So we went from 2 sources of water to having multiple sources now, which includes the Carlsbad desalination plant.
Jeff Stevenson is a water resources manager with the San Diego County Water Authority. He says the county's water supply is stable.
Because we get it in so many places, the idea is if one has a problem, there's a backup. Just like you diversify your investments, you wouldn't put it all into one stock. You diversify it so that if one has a bad year, you have something else to pick up the slack.
San Diego has high priority water rights to the Colorado River, but even if that water supply was cut off, the county has recycled water, groundwater, and conserved water available in Imperial Valley. Stevenson has some recommendations to help conserve water.
Avoiding waste is key. So, don't, if you're going to wash your car, make sure you have a spray nozzle on it. Don't water down the sidewalk. Asking for water at restaurants. A lot of those things are kind of normal practices now in San Diego.
You can find tips for conserving water and saving some money at watersmartsd.org. Melissa May, KPBS News.
While police have made an arrest in the disappearance of a missing Chula Vista woman, her family is still pleading with the community to help them find her remains. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado tells us they're hopeful the community they've built during the nearly year-long search will help bring Maya Miliete home.
Mary Chris Droulier got a call from the Chula Vista police chief on Tuesday confirming her worst fear.
I was still hoping, she's still out there. And to hear the chief saying, he's being arrested for a murder.
They arrested her brother-in-law, Larry Miliete, for the murder of her sister, 39-year-old May Miliete, better known as Maya.
I still couldn't wrap my mind around it yet.
Mary Chris says Maya made up her mind to leave her husband and told the family on New Year's weekend, something Larry was angry about. San Diego County's district attorney called this a triggering event, as Maya's last call was made to a divorce attorney.
So she already warned us that she's going for it, the divorce. And she warned us that it's probably going to be a messy one. I don't know what she meant by that.
Police are still searching for Maya's body and believe someone may have seen Larry's black Lexus SUV on January 11th, the day of her disappearance. That's what the family is focused on. They want to bring her home to her 3 children and give her a proper burial. Mary Chris pleaded for this during Tuesday's news conference.
Please help us bring my sister home. We will, Mary Chris.
You could hear their support group known as Team Maya yelling back they'd be there. The family draws strength from those who continue to search and pray with them.
We are very fortunate to have these people, strangers, that just came together for Maya.
The family says they will spend the next few days searching the vast desert in Anza Borrego. Larry Miliete is being held without bail and is scheduled to be arraigned on Thursday. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Larry Miliete's attorney says without a body, the case against her client is mere speculation. A list of high-ranking officers are under scrutiny after 2 Navy investigations reveal a series of mistakes led to the arson fire that destroyed the USS Bonhomme Richard in July of 2020. The report reveals the Navy refused to learn from past arson fires. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
2 long-delayed reports outlined long-standing problems with how the Navy handles fires dating back more than a decade. Admiral Bill Lesher, Vice Chief of Naval Operations, says the Bonhomme Richard could have been saved.
I see the loss of Bonhomme Richard as preventable and wholly unacceptable.
In nearly 500 pages, the report highlights the confusion in the early hours of the fire on the amphibious landing ship. Sailors up the chain of command did not react quickly. In San Diego for extensive maintenance, most of the Bonhomme Richard's crew was not on board. Rear Admiral Paul Spadero Jr. says ships are particularly vulnerable while in port for maintenance.
What we need to continue to instill in our various commanders, and it's not just the commanders, but all the way down to the deck plate level, that in times of crisis or combat, individuals or organizations are not going to rise to the level of our aspirations. They're going to fall back to the level of training.
The roughly 130 sailors who were left didn't use the ship's own firefighting equipment. No one from the ship even called for help. Instead, a dispatcher monitoring their radios called for outside firefighters. Vice Admiral Scott Kahn led one of the investigations.
Is that our sailors are very well trained and knowledgeable in shipboard firefighting. However, it is largely focused on the underway environment when they have a full complement on board, all expertise, all critical leadership, as well as all equipment available.
The Navy also acknowledged that they remain vulnerable to internal threats like arson. One low-ranking sailor has been charged with arson. He is scheduled to appear at an initial hearing next month. His attorney says he did not start the fire. The report lists 36 officers being referred for further action. Two of the high-ranking officers, Vice Admiral Richard Brown and the leader of Navy Region Southwest, Rear Admiral Betty Bolivar, retired this year. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
The pandemic hit communities across the country hard, not only medically, but economically as well. San Diego fared much better than other places thanks to the military. As KPBS reporter John Carroll tells us, a new report shows military spending helped soften the pandemic's impact on the region's economy.
Vice Admiral Jody Brecken.
On a beautiful sunny San Diego day, some sunny news.
As we come out of COVID, most people think that there are downtrends. This report demonstrates that they're not all down.
Retired Vice Admiral Jody Breckenridge joined other local leaders at Naval Base Point Loma to present the San Diego Military Advisory Council's 2021 report. The top-line takeaway? Military spending and the ripple effect from it helped the San Diego region to mostly dodge a bullet, economically speaking, from COVID.
The government spends money on personnel, on retirees, on research and on manufacturing, and that continues regardless of where we are in the business cycle, and that helps then cushion San Diego during downturns.
How much does military spending help? When it comes to jobs, a lot. Nearly 350,000 jobs are traceable directly to the defense industry. There are about 110,000 active service members and 35,000 civilians employed by the military here. Defense contracts accounted for an additional 200,000 jobs. 23% of the county's total labor force works either directly or indirectly in service of the military. People who served in the armed forces often choose to retire here, and they help a lot too. About 40,000 of them pump $2 billion into our economy every year. And here's the ripple effect of that military money. $35 billion in direct spending generates more than $55 billion, or a quarter of our region's gross regional product.
They didn't lay off anybody in terms of the military. They had to keep on going to provide security. And the fact that we added jobs in the military helped offset some of the losses we saw in other areas.
From 1904, when the Navy opened a coal depot on San Diego Bay, to today, the military and San Diego are more important to each other than ever. John Carroll, KPBS News.
After a chaotic stretch of starts and stops, Capitol Hill Democrats are stepping up the urgency for compromise on President Biden's massive domestic agenda. But there's still a long way to go. Karen Kaifa has the latest on what's in and what's out of the plan.
Democratic leaders inching toward a legislative framework for President Joe Biden's social spending plan.
We're getting closer to an agreement. We want to finalize a deal by the end of this week, but we all must keep moving together.
To move in tandem with the bipartisan infrastructure plan by the end of the month.
We are all feeling very positive about the coming together that is clearly occurring as we land these planes.
Amid discussions between the White House and congressional Democrats, sources say areas for compromise on the social safety net and climate bill include dropping Biden's plan for tuition-free community college, an extension of the child tax credit for just 1 year, and likely with means testing to satisfy moderate Democrats. A reduction in proposed funding for elderly and disabled home care, and scaling down Biden's paid leave proposal for workers to 4 weeks from 12. The plan's price tag now around $2 trillion. That's higher than the $1.5 trillion targeted by West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin, a key Senate swing vote. Lower than the $3.5 trillion initially sought by progressives.
The Speaker has been clear on our priorities, and I think most of them are her priorities as well.
Democrats hope to pass both bills by October 31st and post a victory before Election Day on November 2nd to boost party prospects, like in the tight Virginia governor's race. In Washington, Karen Kaifa, KPBS News.
San Diego County officials are pressing forward on a climate action plan that could change the way the county is developed. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has the details.
California is already experiencing wildfires and droughts linked to climate change, adding urgency to the county planning effort.
It is not just your generation and my generation at risk, but future generations who will not know a normal life without experiencing these devastating effects.
Meyer urged the panel to move forward quickly because climate change is no longer something that's happening in the future. San Diego officials are building a climate action plan tasked with reducing the county's greenhouse gas emissions sharply by 2030. Staffers are in the process of exploring smart growth options that cluster development around transportation hubs. Supervisor Jim Desmond worries the development model ignores technology.
So buses and trains, in my mind, are still going to be there, but we're still going to have roads, we're still going to have that infrastructure, and we need to look at new technology to try to help, solving problems of the future.
He says electric cars could have a huge impact on greenhouse gas emissions, but Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says the Climate Action Plan doesn't just look at cars and trucks.
We've got to build more housing. We know that. We know we've got to figure out how we build it in the right places. And that requires us to get a little bit creative.
County officials acknowledge the complexity of the task. The Climate Action Plan is being developed as regional planners look at growth and outline efforts to reduce the number of vehicle miles traveled in the county. Staff hope to have a plan ready by late 2023. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope you had an amazing day, and thanks for tuning in to KPBS News. I'm Marvin Gomez, and overall, the weather pattern is going to have some changes in the upcoming days. Warmer tomorrow, a couple degrees, a stronger onshore flow as we head into the weekend. Those coastal clouds are going to be coming back and getting into some of the inland valleys. And next week, we have some signs of rain in the forecast for our area. San Diego County, here's a quick look at tonight's forecast. Mount Laguna, 46 degrees, 56 in Borrego Springs, downtown. We're tracking those lows into the mid-50s. Here's a quick look at Thursday. Dry and pleasant across most of the region. That onshore flow starting to kick in across Southern California, and we will be tracking those pockets of rain into Northern California. But overall, high pressure is going to be across most of the desert Southwest as we head all the way into our Friday. So the quiet weather pattern will continue throughout San Diego County again into tomorrow afternoon. 87 degrees for our high in Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna 62. Campo, you're near 79 degrees. Abundant sunshine along the coast. And as I mentioned, yes, we have a storm system that's going to be moving inland as we head into Sunday all the way into Monday and Tuesday. But overall, Southern California, yes, we're looking at some chances for rain, especially into Monday and Tuesday. Those are going to be the days where we could see some activity across our area. Here's a quick look at the coast forecast. 70s are in the forecast for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and umbrellas again needed into our Monday. In inland areas, it's going to be the same case. We're tracking some of the wet weather for us into our Monday, and across the mountains, where it is going to be turning cooler. Temperatures getting into the 50s for Saturday, Sunday, 40s into Monday. An afternoon shower is possible. And across the deserts, we're going to see those temperatures drop from the 80s into the upper 70s for Monday. And of course, Monday afternoon, there is the potential for a couple of showers as well. For KPBS News, I'm Marvin Gomez.
Let Them Breathe has become known nationally for its fight against mask mandates and other COVID restrictions in schools. The North San Diego County group has collected thousands of dollars in donations to fund their efforts. Now they're targeting vaccine requirements. But who is behind this organization? KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne takes a closer look.
Let Them Breathe has become well known for disrupting school board meetings. Its logo, an unmasked and bright smiling face emoji, has popped up in school board meetings and protests across the region. They are fighting to end student mask mandates, testing, and quarantine protocols in schools. They've gained national attention and so far raised more than $150,000 in donations through their GoFundMe.
We're a group of over 30,000 parents that are concerned about the effects of masking on their kids' mental health, their physical health, their social development, and also their academic progress.
The founder, Sharon McKeeman, lives in North County. Before she found the national spotlight, she was a blogger, artist, and mother. Now with interviews, a radio show, merchandise sales, and lawsuits, Let Them Breathe has become like a full-time job. But McKeeman wouldn't share if she was getting a salary. Along with the donations on GoFundMe, McKeeman is raising money for Let Them Breathe by selling merchandise. She says the money will go to her lawsuit against the state to end student mask mandates.
Unfortunately, legal action is not cheap, and so to bring these issues before a judge and to have them settled in a court instead of just kind of the chaos of public opinion is expensive.
Let Them Breathe has requested that the state be required to pay their attorney's fees if they win their lawsuit. If they win, McKeeman says she would use the money to fund her next legal battle. On her website, McKeeman describes herself as a, quote, author, educator, artist, photographer, and homeschooling mama, which has prompted her opponents to question whether her kids go to school. But McKeeman explains that they do.
All my kids are in the public school system. There have been portions of time where they were in a charter. They were still in a publicly funded classroom every week, but they are home with me a couple days a week. So I did learn about homeschooling.
KPBS verified that all 4 of McKeeman's children attend in-person schools in North County. She says masking and restrictions took a mental toll on her kids and has heard the same from parents across the country.
We're hearing from parents with kids who have epilepsy, that are hearing impaired, kids that are English language learners and they're struggling to learn the English language when they can't see their teachers' mouths. We're hearing about anxiety, depression.
McKeeman cites studies that say masks harm children's physical and mental health, but some medical experts question the validity of those studies. Lizette Ma, a family psychologist, says,
I have not had one kid in the last 21 months that have said, I am so upset that I have to wear this darn mask. Yes, it's uncomfortable, it's annoying. It's not the issue. The issue is everything else that got stripped from everybody and all the additional stressors that we did.
And many parents do want masks and vaccine requirements. Kristen Beer is the admin for Parents for PUSD, a group in Poway who has told school officials they support masks.
Letting know that, yes, the people outside are loud and the people are intimidating, but there are lots of us out there who appreciate when they make those hard decisions and when they stand up to those people and make the right decisions for the right reasons.
Now McKeeman is looking to expand. In July, she filed paperwork with the state to make Let Them Breathe a nonprofit. In response to KPBS's question, she declined to disclose details about its expenses. And she started a new group to fight vaccine mandates in schools.
Let Them Choose, that is an initiative from that same community, but it will have a separate, it already has a separate fundraiser for legal action to oppose forced COVID vaccines for students.
Last week, the group announced a lawsuit against San Diego Unified for its vaccine mandate. Its GoFundMe has raised more than $33,000 so far. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
There's no in for customers at the only InNOut in San Francisco. This after the burger chain refused to check customer vaccination cards as required by the city health department. The restaurant was temporarily shut down after the city says it gave multiple warnings. Now it can only offer takeout and outdoor dining.
They are a business and they should just follow the government guidelines and, follow what's the safest for the people.
It's a jurisdictional thing, right? More than a large corporation thing. And I think all large corporations are going to have to fit into whatever the local ordinances are wherever they do business.
In a statement, InNOut said, quote, "We fiercely disagree with any government dictate that forces a private company to discriminate against customers who choose to patronize their business. This is clear governmental overreach and is intrusive, improper, and offensive," end quote. Construction crews have begun work to widen one of San Diego's deadliest streets. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says that's despite concerns over pedestrian safety.
The widening of a block of El Cajon Boulevard in City Heights was approved in 2018. Mayor Todd Gloria's office said recently the project was under review to determine if it's in line with his goals. But late Tuesday night, his office told KPBS the project was outside the city's control, and trying to halt the widening could expose the city to a lawsuit. Darnell Williams owns Dojo Cafe on the block in question. With the sidewalk now closed, he fears for pedestrians, especially children and seniors.
I don't know what the plan was as far as watching out for the pedestrians and really keeping them in mind, but this street is very busy and it's used a lot by the students and a lot of the people of City Heights, and we just don't want to see something tragic happen here.
Some residents of Talmadge say the widening is needed to relieve congestion and prevent motorists from cutting through neighborhood streets. William says he thinks it will only expose pedestrians and motorists to more danger.
You know, I've had to call 911 multiple times with the amount of accidents that we see, or near accidents. And so widening the street, I don't foresee that making this a safer place.
Mayor Gloria says he generally does not support widening roads in urban environments and that he'll order city staff to scrutinize all similar projects across the city to see if they're consistent with his goals of sustainability and traffic safety. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the Biden administration unveils its plan to vaccinate children ages 5 to 11 against COVID once approval comes. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Starting tonight, amateur astronomers will have a lot to see in the night sky. NASA says the next full moon, called the Hunter's Moon, will be visible tonight through Friday. It can usually be seen in October or November. According to the Farmer's Almanac, the Hunter's Moon is a sign that it's time to hunt in preparation for the winter ahead. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.